Yeah, nobody else saw it. It was right in the calendar, right on every other material, so we're good to go. Give me just a moment. I'm going to open up my folders so I can screen share and have all the materials ready. Okay. Whoop, don't need to keep that open.
Yep. Happy spring, everybody.
We are streaming. Okay, that's the corporation agenda. Hang on one moment. Committee agenda. Get out our minutes.
We're not approving any minutes, are we?
We don't need to. No, we can hold those over. We can go right to the audit. Let's do that. Just a moment, I'm going to close my, sorry, it's going to take me a second. I've got to open up the audit.
That's our only agenda item, right?
Yep. So if Andrew, Gary, and Mark are audit committee. So let's, I'm going to open it up. Two minutes open here. Okay, audit and financial statement. More people into the room. And then all.
There's Gary and Mark.
There's Gary and Mark. So we do have our committee members.
Yay.
We're missing Andrew, but we do have two of the three members here. Screen share now. Who's 2110? Is that you, Mark? Is that you, Gary?
Yes.
He's on for two communities.
Yep. Okay. Can folks see my screen okay?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Well, let's get underway. We are about 5 minutes after, so let's begin our meeting for the audit committee. We do have Amy Pedrick of Weston Company joining us. If folks can see my screen, Amy, I'll try to anticipate where you are in the financial statement letter, and we can move through that accordingly for the committee.
Okay, great. To your screen.
And we're just seeing a Zoom.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to your screen.
Let's stop sharing and share again. Stop and share. Try it again. Share.
There we go.
That
There
looks
we
better.
go. Excellent.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. I just wanted to present the financial statements. They're in draft today. They will be finalized upon approval and be able to be put into the Paris submission by the end of December, the required deadline. I'll start off by saying the audit went very well as it has in the past. Tom and Martin were able to provide us with everything we needed very timely. Myself and Brian from my office, we worked on it remotely. We had files transferred electronically. They gave us everything we needed and it went very smoothly. So I'll kind of point that out as we go through the financials and talk about a few highlights. But if there's any questions regarding the audit at any point or the financials, please stop me. So the good thing for this year, there's no new accounting changes that affected the financial statements for the organization. So the financial statements are pretty much presented the same as they had been in the past. The only change is the current year activity. So the first part of the financials, pages 1 and 2, is the independent auditor's report. So this report, it shows management's responsibility. These are the financial statements of management. We, as auditors, attach opinions to those financial statements. So at the top of page 2, after it talks about our responsibilities, and on top of page 2, it says, in our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly. So that is a clean, unmodified opinion, the highest opinion we give as a profession, and what the organization has received in the past. The next, after that, on page 3, is the statement of financial position. That's just the nonprofit way to call a balance sheet. So if you look at it, it's pretty consistent with last year. Our cash position's up a little bit. We have $322,000 of cash at the end of September. We do have some grants receivable out there, about $21,000 that we're anticipated to be collected after year end. A little bit of accounts payable, and then the amounts due to communities of $329,190, and we'll show that breakdown between the communities in the footnotes coming up. And as it has been in the past, because of the way the organization operates, we have no net position. It's a flow through, so the revenues and expenditures will equal each other, and the ins and outs will flow through that due to communities number. Pages 4 and 5 are the statement of activities, or essentially your balance sheet. 4 being for 2021, 5 being the comparative for 2020. A couple of years ago, we had to change the presentation. We used to just be able to list 2020 in a 4th column as a total, but we had to show them separately, so they are on separate pages. So you'll see in 2021, a lot of activity happened in comparison to the prior year. So obviously, as I mentioned before, your revenues are driven by your expenditures. So because you had project costs in total, your functional expenses were $16.4 million, and of that, project costs were $16.3 million. Your revenues went up accordingly. You had the grant revenues, a big chunk of it, about $10.1 million of grant revenues, and then the rest were from the communities at the 6.2. So this year, as we've mentioned, and I'm sure you're all aware, a lot more activity happened. So we had larger numbers flowing through, as opposed to last year, we had just about $3 million of revenues and expenditures at the end of 2020 on the next page. Then pages 6 and 7 is the statement of functional expenses. This is the breakdown between the expenditures that I mentioned of $16.4 million. And it's the breakdown between program management in general, page 6 being 2021 and page 7 being 2020. And as you can see, all the project costs are program, and then the legal, professional, admin, insurance, et cetera, fall into that management in general column. So most of it is all broken down into program. And this then flows into your 990 that I'll bring up in a couple minutes. This schedule will go back directly to that. Then on page 8 is the statement of cash flows. It just takes you from your ending cash last year of about $277,000 to where we are at the end of September 30th of $322. And it's really just the changes in the balance sheet, the changes in the due to communities, payables, and grants receivable, et cetera. Then after that, we have the footnotes to the financial statements. That is pretty much unchanged from last year. There's no new footnotes. It's just the changes in the numbers for what happened during the year. So footnote 1 is the summary of significant accounting policies. It talks about the organization. It talks about what you guys are, what you do. Then it talks about at the bottom what our financial reporting requirements are, that we present our net assets, but you guys actually don't have net assets, but we are required to disclose this footnote anyway. It's a required disclosure. And then it goes on to the next page, how we account for our cash and cash equivalents, that we're a nonprofit under 501c3. We have no uncertain tax positions, and how we allocate our expenses. But at the bottom of page 10, note 2 shows that due to, due from communities. And I know Tom does a really big spreadsheet and keeps track of all this. This just condenses everything down to show between the communities that are in the corporation, how much is due to or from them at the end of the year at September 30th. And then the only other footnote I want to bring to your attention is on page 11, footnote 5. This is the liquidity footnote. This was required a few years back. And all this does is say of our assets, but you guys only have these 2. So your assets are all unrestricted and able to be used to fund expenditures coming up in the next couple of years. If you had restricted cash, if you had things that were for specific purpose, we would not be including them in this footnote, but because you have your cash equivalents and your grants receivable, they are liquid and able to be used going forward into 21-22. Then after that, and this page is really little, and I apologize. Next year, we're going to work on maybe figuring out a different way to present it to condense it a little bit more, because it's getting pretty wide and the numbers are getting pretty little to look at. But this is just a schedule that, when we started the audit back in the beginning, we worked with management of CDRPC, I think it was Magdi at the time, and Martin, to come up with a schedule that kind of gives the communities all the activity that's happened since inception, costs and grants from each year going from 2016 to 2021, and the total net cumulative costs to date, and that's the far right column of $22.4 million. So maybe we'll work a little bit next year on showing some condensed numbers or breaking it out into different year increments or splitting it out because it is a little schedule. But it is something that management wanted in there. It's not a required report, but it is something management wanted in there for further explanation to the community so you guys can see where you fall. Any questions on the financial statements?
I think you'll have to go to legal paper for that one.
I know, it's getting really little. We tried our best to try to fit it as much as we could, but it's getting tiny. So we're gonna have to figure this out next year. So then the other two documents that we have to go over, we have the 990. This is the federal tax return. This is goes to the IRS. It's just an informational return. There's no fee. There's nothing that's required to be sent with that. It will be e-filed. Really what this is, it takes the numbers of the financial statements, puts them into the tax return, and then also just has some more explanatory information. As opposed, it talks about who the board members are, what your policies are. There is a question in the 990 that does say, was it made available to the board prior to submission? This is not due until February, but we get everything completed prior to the para submission. So if there are anything that anybody sees that needs to be changed or any corrections, please again let us know. Martin had a couple things that he found and we corrected, but really it's all the financial information coming from the tax return or from the financial onto the tax return. And then the last one is the Chart 500. That's the small 3-page state tax return, but attached to that when it gets filed with New York State is the 990 along with the financial statement. So they get the whole package along with a filing fee of $50. And that one is not e-filed, it's paper filed, but again, also not due until February, but they're to be all completed at the same time. So did anybody have any questions regarding any of the 3 documents or the audit process at all? As I mentioned in the beginning, the audit went really very well. We have no management letter comments. We have no areas of concern to bring to the board at all in regards to the financial process. So. Oh, Martin, you're muted.
And that summarizes my comment. No, as folks may recall, as a regulatory practice required by the Authority Budget Office, we have an audit committee. Audit committee is destined to provide reconnaissance on these materials. And so as we are an audit committee, we're making a recommendation or considering a recommendation to the full board on the acceptance of these materials, to which we will have a full board meeting immediately following, where we will hear essentially the same presentation. So lucky Amy.
Lucky you guys, I get to hear my thoughts.
That's efficient, I guess, if we don't have to meet in person. So yep. Anybody have any questions, comments, concerns, any wishes of the committee members?
No, I mean,
so we just need a motion to recommend the audit to the board.
I'll make the motion.
Thanks, Mark. I couldn't hear. Is that Gary?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Gary's going to second it.
All right. We've got a full committee here because I see Andrew's here as well. So I guess all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Let me change screens here, and it is time for our regular meeting. And we only have one agenda item, although I do have the meeting minutes from December 9th ready to go. So we can take action on those. So I'll call those up. Hopefully folks are able to see my screen. With that, Bill, I'll hand it over to you.
I don't see your screen, but
yeah, because it doesn't like when I move things around on my screen. That's why. It's not smart enough to notice my windows changing.
Okay, so we're
open. Sorry, give me a moment.
As everybody knows, we're doing our meeting remotely, and we're streaming it so that it can be seen on YouTube.
Just going to grab them off the website. Sorry.
And we've got myself and Tom Dufresne from Albany. We've got Gary Nathan. Let's see, do we have Joe today? No. We've got Mark from Rensselaer, Troy, we've got Chris. We have Andrew too. No, oh yeah. You got
We do, yep.
Andrew. Watervliet. No Watervliet today.
No,
Do we have Maggie on?
Yeah, no,
He's
Maggie's
unable to
not here,
make
but
it.
I could take her place.
Gary's.
Gary's the alternate. And I don't think we have the sewer districts on, but for advisory. So did we all hear the review of the audit from Amy? Did we need to go through that again, or can we just take a vote?
I motion to accept the audit.
Do I have a second?
I will second.
Mark, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
That was way too simple.
I was getting ready to go through it all again.
That's
We do need a motion to authorize the submission and execution of the 990 and CHAR 500.
Okay, what he said, do I have a motion?
This is Gary. I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I'll second to what he said.
Okay.
man, this is
Okay,
Robert's Rules of Order, man.
all in favor?
Uh,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Martin, make a note. We can never have a Thursday afternoon meeting.
Like,
We're efficient.
Do we want to review the minutes?
Yeah, I typed them up.
sure.
They are on the web. This is from the website. Board meeting minutes are distributed prior to the meeting by Dropbox and on the website. There's also a link to where they live on YouTube. Well, the minutes, the meeting itself lives on YouTube, forever enshrined in the Internet Archives. Do we have any questions, comments, concerns about the meeting minutes from our last meeting?
If there's no corrections or additions, we'll have to have a motion to approve the minutes.
Gary, I'll make the motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Tom Dufresne, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Did you skip that?
Great.
So we had a good audit. Thank you very much, Amy.
Thank you very much.
And yeah, we've been having meetings on our Beaver Creek project. We said, hey, it's 1 year until we're supposed to be completed. So,
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
and the water board's going to do bond resolution tomorrow for that last final tranche. And I think Troy's already got their money for the final tranche into position to be closing. So the long-term control plan is going to be shorter term here soon, I think.
Okay by me.
Okay, is there any other business that we need to discuss? If not, can I have a motion to adjourn?
This is Gary, I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Well, everybody have a great Christmas.
Yep.
Yes, thank you, everybody. We'll see you on January 13th.